now on top of my first degree, which was in government and public administration.
Thank you so much. I see you did your Bachelor of Arts in 1994 and your Bachelor's of Law in 2012.
Yes.
That's a very huge difference. It means you have been practicing HR. So why the sudden change in your career or interest?
Thank you for that question. Number one, the degree in law was not a continuation of the first degree, but rather a decision to diversify my education and experience. Now, this field of HR is a bit interesting. You get to interact with a lot of people, exchange a lot of ideas, and then part of the work that I was doing in HR is quasi-legal. HR work is like half management, half law. So I thought if I take a degree in law, I will enrich the HR that I'm doing and at the same time become an independent person away from HR. So
you did your degree in South Africa and
yes.
The master's in Liverpool.
Yes.
Are these universities accredited, and did you study online or are they physical classes?
The degree in law was a combination of both, and I found that to be the best way to go. If I had discovered that when I was doing my first degree, that would have been the way to go. Because the university at which I took that education, I was actually admitted at the University of Nairobi for my law degree, but having compared UNISA and the University of Nairobi, I opted for UNISA. They have taught law for over 150 years, and looking at the university rankings that are normally done annually, during my time at UNISA, it used to oscillate between number 2 and number 5 in Africa, where our own local universities, the best would come at, say, number 35, number 40, like that. So what I did was to choose the best venue for my education. And number 2, your question of accreditation, yes, the degree is accredited. For you to go through the process of admission at the Kenya School of Law, for you to be enrolled as an advocate, all those things have to be put into consideration. But now, so that I don't have to explain it every time I meet a person who wants to know, recently I took that accreditation letter where, yes, the government confirms that that degree is as good as the ones that we have in Kenya. That letter will be found somewhere within the folder that I gave out.
Okay. But you didn't say if you did it online or physically. Hatujui kama ni degree ulinunua online.
It is a combination. I said that it's a combination of both, where the system is set in such a manner that you can only pass if you know what you're saying. Unlike our local universities, where sometimes we have marks that are obtained otherwise. In the system that combined both online and physical with UNISA, it was such a rigorous training that you only pass if you know. If you don't, you try another time. I hope that answers.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tell us about your employment history.
Thank you. My employment history started about a year after I finished my first degree. There was a company called Spinners and Spinners that took me in as a personnel officer. They gave me that opportunity, and I progressively went through that career, whereby after Spinners, I went to a company that was then called Eliento in the Unga Group as an industrial relations officer, which was slightly higher than personnel officer. After Unga, I had a good opportunity in my career to work for Hako Industries as a human resources and administration officer. And I can say it was in Hako that I honed my career. I had an opportunity to work with one of our business icons in the country, the late Dr. Chris Kirubi. And I can say most of what I know in management, I learned from him, and it was a good lesson. And it was while in Hako that I also started studying for my law, and also with a lot of encouragement from Mr. Kirubi, and also from our previous Attorney General, Professor Githu Muigai, who was also our company advocate then. He said he didn't know what I was doing in HR because he found me to be better in law, and that was, maybe if I can digress a bit, that was after I challenged him on some 7 points we were discussing. 7 points where he had told us what to do about a strike that we had with workers. And after my discussion with him having been sent there, we ended up using only 2 of his points and 5 of mine, and by then I was not yet a lawyer. So I thought if I can be better than this big icon, why not? And he also told me, fine, run with it and see what happens. And that's what I did. Now, after Hako Industries, I had a short stint at AAR as the group HR, where I looked after Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, still doing my law. Thereafter, I went into the petroleum industry, where I was the head of department, looking after HR and administration at the Gulf Petroleum Corporation. And there now I was really enjoying myself, combining HR with my now new skills in law, and I kept going. Now after Gulf Petroleum, around 2012, and with the knowledge that I had gathered, I started doing consultancies, and the consultancies that I started then have not stopped to this day. Now, I thought it was time now to get admitted as an advocate, so that I stopped doing legal consultancies, so that I do other work. And I went to the Kenya School of Law in 2014, where similar questions like the ones that you are asking were asked about now this is a foreign degree. So they were answered satisfactorily, and I was admitted. And thereafter, having accomplished what was required by the School of Law, I got admitted as an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, which I've been practicing since then, and also as I do consultancies in management.
So you have indicated that you are working at the legal and HR consultancy flight training center. So are you still working there, or have you resigned?
No, what I do at the flight training center, my principal place of work is Gatore J and Company Advocates, which is my law firm. But even while at my law firm, I have those old clients who say, fine, we know you are an advocate, but we also know that you know a lot of HR, so hatukuachili, you will keep on helping us. Now, Flight Training Center is one of them. People who believe in me and who tell me, fine, hata kama ni wakili, we know we have problems that you can assist us with. So the principal place of work is Gatoriji and Company, but Flight Training Center is an example of the consultancies that I do, again in both HR and legal, because for them I combine both.
Okay, I see you are an expert in HR.
Yes, I am.
Why didn't you consider the position of county secretary? Why the county attorney?
Yes. Number one, these positions are positions that were applied for. And if you are a karateka and a boxer at the same time, you choose which match you want to go to. Now for me, since the practice of law is newer than HR, law is where I feel more inclined. And remember, for the practice of law, you go up to age 70, which is a longer scope than this other one. And to answer your question also in a big way, I'm not a selfish person. So what I thought was, since I can do the position that you have suggested for me, I don't know if I'll lift this a bit to be heard, but I don't know if I'm audible without the microphone.
No, it is.
I'm not.
For purposes of answered,
Thank you.
you must use the microphone.
Very well.
It is far from you. Should it be? Should be adjusted. Suggest.
Thank you. Yeah, as I was saying, I'm not a selfish person. I know that I could very well handle the position of county secretary. But what I thought is that since I can do either of the two, if I take county secretary successfully, I will leave this other position. But which probably the people who would be wanting this other position may not do. So basically it was a way of, I will not say creating, that may not be the appropriate word, but just leaving space for a brother or a sister to take up the other position instead of hogging the two positions like a truck that will be driving on the middle lane of the road, blocking everyone else from overtaking them and moving ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
So you are overqualified for county secretary.
Not my words.
Kindly tell us about your honors and awards.
Very well. I have not had any state honors or any state awards, mainly because I have never worked for government. The only time that I nearly became a civil servant was after school, when there was an opportunity to become a DO, district officer those times. But the location where I was going to be posted was not good for me. And I said, since I have other capabilities, why don't I try things nearer where I am?
You know, you have answered it vaguely in your report. I see you have stated school awards and karate.
Yes.
So I don't know, is school awards ni best in discipline? You should elaborate.
Yes, I will elaborate that. Why I indicated that is that even if I've not gotten any government awards, there are those awards of excellence where I remember several times, more times than I can count, where I was the best student in class, where there was a time when I was also the best disciplined, the best student in discipline, but those other awards were awards in the best literature student, best overall student, such. Now in karate, I'll also say that when I was younger than I am now, I engaged in that field, and because I had a lot of interest, and I got an award when at Moi University we competed against soldiers of Moi Barracks, and out of 9 competitors from Moi University, I was one among the 3 who defeated soldiers in karate.
Okay. Are you a member of any professional associations, and if any, kindly state for us?
Yes, I am. Number 1, by virtue of being an advocate, I am a member of the Law Society of Kenya, and also from my HR practice, you might see from my black folder that I am a member of the Institute of Human Resources Management Kenya. I'm also a member in some smaller other associations which I did not want to bother you with, like a member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, but where I'm still taking the steps to get to the top. I'm also a member of where I took my diploma in HR, the Central Institute of Management, but which I did not bog my CV down with.
Okay, so when did you become a member of Law Society of Kenya? You have stated that you're a member.
Yes, 2016.
2016?
Yeah, 2016, and then Institute of Human Resource Management. By then, it was the Institute of Personnel Management, 2000 and...
Okay. I will hand over to our member to continue.
Very well, and I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I must confess that Mr. Gatore is my friend, but simultaneously I have to ask some questions.
No objections.
Yeah, you have indicated that you have a holder of a copyright.
Yes.
Could you kindly tell us?
Yes, okay, fine. Those are some of the details that I was saying I did not want to bog down the committee with, but as I mentioned, having been a very good student of literature, I ventured into the world of writing, and as we talk now, I have written 2 books in literature under the umbrella of Poetry Demystified, and God willing, for those of you who have children in secondary schools, my book might be one of the set books in literature in the coming few years. The book has been split into 2, one for secondary school level, the other one for university level, Poetry Demystified. And since we have many crooks in Kenya and Africa in general, and knowing that the book could be stolen, I protected it by registration of that copyright.
Okay, okay. From record is that you have not worked with the public.
Maybe before you continue, of these books you hold, maybe you could have provided the committee with a copy of each of your writings.
Why I did not do that is that the book is still at script level, so that now the only person with responsibility over that book is the publisher, so that should I one day hear that my book has been seen in South America, I know who to go after. It is still under that protection. We are still at that stage where it is not being released to very many people because of the factors stated earlier.
Because of the copyright rights.
Yeah, but Chair,
yes.
In my black folder, you might be able to see the copyright certificate. It is included there.
Okay.
Thank you.
And continue, member.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, from your employment background is that you have not worked with the public office, neither the government offices, eh?
True.
It seems you are more in the corporate world than in the government. How now are you going to relate the corporate knowledge to the governance?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. I was actually asked that elsewhere, and my answer was that the position that I'm looking at, which is county attorney, is like is just like any other department in a law firm, because the things that a county attorney will do, which is legal advice and generally legal work, is work that easily duplicates elsewhere, just like what you find in the corporate world. The other one regarding the work of a county attorney, in my many years of experience in management, there are places where we have done consultancies for government departments in corporate governance and also for other corporates. So I'll say, for me, yes, that's why I would say, for my part, It would be doing the work of a county attorney, but from that background of the corporate world. It would be like asking Eliud Kipchoge to do a marathon of 38 kilometers instead of 41.
Thank you. So, should we go to the next question?
Yes, please, if you are ready.
Asante, you're talking about you have worked with the Kenya LSK as an election observer.
Yes.
Simultaneously, the IBC as the chief agent.
Yes.
That is back 2022.
Yes.
And then we have the Nyandarua County Task Force.
Yes.
What does this Nyandarua Task Force entail?
Yeah, there was a task force that was created by the governor to look into pending bills, public service, and such other things. And I was called upon to become a member of the said task force, which I accepted. And as you can see, it was not a job, but since I've never worked in government, I felt that urge to work for the government, to give a little service to the public. So that's why I accepted that.
There are some recommendations out of the work that had been given by the governor.
Yes.
True?
True.
Some of the recommendations, can you mention?
Yeah, some of the recommendations were about the question of pending bills, whereby it was recommended that the genuine pending bills be paid right away, that the questionable pending bills be looked into further, so that should there have been something that made the government decide not to pay, but which can be dealt with, it be dealt with. Now that was about the pending bills. The other recommendations were about county assets, whereby it was reported that some of the assets were not within the county, others were not being put into the use intended by the county, so there was a recommendation that that issue be looked into further. Now there was the issue of public service, whereby the figures given from within the government were not tallying, so it was recommended that that issue also be looked into further, because where you have a properly functioning HR department, the figure given should be one, and even when given from different angles, the figure should tally. So there was the recommendation that that issue also be dealt with further. There were other recommendations, such as people who have worked for long and who have not been promoted. There was a recommendation that that issue be looked into. Promotions are part of the staff motivation, and staff should be motivated by getting promoted if they are performing well. There was another recommendation, still on staff motivation, whereby people, yes, work for the government, there's nothing that is done for their motivation. There was a recommendation that the car loans and the mortgages be expanded such that even the smallest worker is able to access such facilities, because at the end of the day, today you are 30, in a few years' time you will be 50, and as an old person, you will want to look back and see that where I worked for was a place that helped to build me and bring me to where I am. Those were some of the recommendations. There was a raft of recommendations that I may not be able to run through at the same time, but those were some of the highlights.
Thank you. The last question, but not the least, is in regard to the deferred income, rather the future benefits.
Yes.
Can you elaborate more?
Yes. My understanding of that question was the future earnings that I may have. Now, in my own small way, I am a farmer. I have been brought up in a farming setup. So my expectation is that if I continue with farming, I should get some benefit by way of sale of the farm proceeds. Now, from where I sit, I also do my regular day-to-day work. Sometimes you do not get paid immediately. And so there is that hope that you follow up on the debts that people owe you, and that becomes part of your financial arsenal.
There is this issue of the land in the indefinite.
Yes.
What is this?
Okay, that is the land that all of us have, a piece of land here, another one there. I'll say that being a person of small means, having been brought up in that way, I was taught to save, and that when you save, instead of buying a fast-moving car, buy a small piece of land if you can, because like I remember when I was fresh from school, plots in Roy were going for 8,000, and I was able to borrow 20,000 from the company I was working for and bought land there. Now that land that was costing 8,000 those years is now going for 2.5 million. So that's the kind of land that I'm talking about. I did not come from a family where I could inherit land. So it was me and me alone. So anytime when I have a little money, I'm able to buy for myself. Also through the circles, the employment circles and such other places where you buy land today. I was told that land appreciates, and if you want to sell it in future, you'll be able to make an extra coin. So that's what I meant.
Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Gatori.
Yes, Honorable.
Good morning once again.
Good morning.
It's very interesting to hear that you're writing a book. We're really looking forward to read it when you publish it.
Actually, it's already written.
Yeah.
It is now with the publisher to bring it out, and I'm negotiating so that it becomes a set book in the Republic of Kenya.
Yeah.
Where your children can benefit from my enterprise.
Okay. Apart from that, I'll go to my questions.
Yes.
This committee would love to know your sources of income, the lists, and the amounts.
Very well. The sources of my income are as indicated there. I practice as an advocate, and we get paid. Sometimes we don't get paid. We do urgent work, but wait to be paid later. I also do management consultancies. I also do a bit of farming.
From what you wrote, I can't see the amounts. I can't just see the list. There's farming, consultancy, and the projects.
Yes.
The amounts are not there.
There was a place I indicated the amounts. I do not. Let me check for you quickly on my copy.
I'm talking of the specific question.
Yes.
What it asked for. Yeah.
That was just off my head. Generally, I know the approximate figure, but since I'm not a person of big means, I have not gotten to that level where I have a person to compute for me.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
But that is just my general approximation.
Okay.
That's why I said around a certain figure, not exactly.
But maybe this committee would have expected you
Yes.
To write the list of the projects.
Yes.
And maybe the costs, the amounts, just the way it is indicated. But we'll go to the next question.
Thank you.
I believe you are a law-abiding citizen.
Yes.
It's only that I've not looked at your tax compliance.
Yes.
This committee would love to know, have you been able to file your tax before you applied for this nomination, for this county attorney nomination?
That too.
You had complied.
Yes.
You had paid your taxes.
Yeah. And
prior to trying to get this seat for the nomination.
Yeah, and also do a monthly returns.
All right.
And also the annual returns.
The next question, Mr. Gatori. We wanted to see your financial net worth.
Yes.
What you wrote is 100 million.
Yes.
This committee would like you to list down, to break it down.
Yes.
Because in a block figure, this committee is not able to know
yes.
what is this 100 million coming from.
Yes.
And it's important so that maybe in the next 5 years,
Yes.
if at all you get this job, we won't get you having 10 billion.
Yes.
We would love to know that.
Very well. I think the position doesn't pay enough to make 10 billion, but as I mentioned earlier, the large chunk of that amount is tied in land. The largest amount of that is tied in land, and then there are some vehicles, probably with a combined value of 10 million. There are houses whose worth might come to a total of 40 million together. A few debts here and there which people owe me, and then very little in cash. Very little.
I don't know why you insist on very little, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's because it's because that is the position.
Okay.
And I see people with more money than I do.
Yes.
And I always aspire to be there, but that's why I keep on working hard.
Okay, that okay?
Yes.
That was on average, but maybe we expected more of this, but it's okay, you answered it. We expected more of this on matters broke down, but that okay, you've answered. I'll now take it back to the chairman so that the next member can continue asking the questions.
We can have Honorable Mbogomburu from Weru. We continue with the other questions.
Very well. My next question from the committee will be based on potential conflict of interest. I understand you have two lines of discipline. In where you are in human resource, and now you are coming in to be our advocate lawyer and practicing all the legalities of the county government.
Yes.
What would happen if potential people you know comes and starts practicing in the county? That is number one. Number two, what if the law firms you are used to and you have been practicing with now comes and get a cash cow from Nyandarua County, in where they will expect litigation, of course, passed and well negotiated by one of their own. In a nutshell, I'm saying, how will you solve the conflict of interest?
Very well. Thank you for that question. Actually, conflict of interest is not a new issue. It is also in the training of advocates, where people are advised and required to avoid conflict of interest by all means. Actually, a situation of conflict of interest involving a lawyer may also become a disciplinary issue within the LSK arm, the disciplinary tribunal. Number two, lawyers will be bound to meet at one point or another, either working together in one team or as adversaries. So what happens is, if I have a matter involving the county, and you remember from the Office of the County Attorney Act number 14 of 2020, one of the functions of the county attorney is being the principal legal advisor to the county government. So if I have a big matter here involving our county, and on the other hand is a lawyer trying to smile to me because I know you, so fine, you know me, but so what? Here is a legal matter involving my county against you. So there is no way I'll cross to your side, because right now we are not friends, we are adversaries. And that is the nature of the legal work. We are adversaries in this particular matter, and forget about knowing me, even if you are my own brother, although I don't have a brother who practices law. It is the legal work as it is, and then other things thereafter. So the way I know myself as a person, I have never been in a situation of conflict of interest, and that is deliberate because that is tied to my personality as a person who do things the straight way. So I would not be worried about getting into a situation of conflict of interest because the way I know myself is that it would not arise, and if it arose, I would run over it like a tank runs over mines.
Very well. You have combined A and B because you have said how you will solve it. The next one is, I have heard you complain a lot on cash, but I have also seen that from the net worth, at least you have something. How many times have you ever been involved in charity work
Yes,
and pro bonos?
many times.
Can you mention some?
Yes, sometimes we get called upon by the Court of Appeal to help prisoners who are not able to raise legal fees. As we talk now, there is one that I have just concluded. There is a person who was erroneously convicted and sentenced to life, but I was able to get him out
For free.
for
For
free.
free?
For free.
Charity work.
Charity work.
Would you mind mentioning or rather you'll be exposing the candidate himself. Let us not go to that direction.
Yes, there is
Not-
client
yeah.
confidentiality.
Yeah, there
Yes.
is confidentiality on that one.
Yes.
But you did it willingly.
I did it willingly, and then sometimes we are called upon to go to places where you have people who need legal assistance but cannot be able to raise it. Actually, just last week, we had the Legal Awareness Week where militants are put together at a certain station. Lawyers go and sit, wait for members of the public to come and say their problems, and we are able to give them legal advice. We do that once every year. There are other times when you don't wait for that day, and sometimes we'll go to prison, and even if you're not getting those people out, they'll tell you their story, and you'll give them the guidelines and how to go about their matters. And some of them who tell the truth, because sometimes prisoners lie. For those of them who are truthful and who are wrongly convicted, they get some relief.
Very well. Have you ever been charged in a court of law at any one time?
Never, not even for a traffic offense.
Never.
Never.
Very well.
Yes.
And having never been convicted,
Yes.
you can never be. Have you ever been mentioned in any parliamentary task force or any group looking for information?
No, that has never happened.
But you have told us you are in the task force.
Yes. And having been in the task force, I was not mentioned.
Yourself.
Yes, I was not mentioned as a person who did any mischief. So I was actually, if anyone was to be mentioned, I was supposed to be the one mentioning people, although I did not mention anyone.
Are you comfortable if we consult your referees in your absence at any one time?
I welcome you to do that. If you have enough time today, you can do that now.
And they are living human beings who are going to answer phone calls.
Okay, yes, they will. Okay, they are fairly busy people. Sometimes they don't answer my calls, but eventually they return them. But if you contact them, they'll be able to give you an extension of the picture that I'm giving you here.
I think through the help of the chair, we
Yes.
must contact one because the exercise is not ending today.
Yes,
We have to contact at least one
please do.
and affirm that the person who might be lucky to get the position is clearly coming or emanating from the juicy said referees.
Very well.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Boru. We can continue with the other questions. Honorable Member for Charagita, Kirukamburu.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay, Mr. Gatonye, I have a question that...
Gatore, please, Honorable. Gatore.
Gatore.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
I have a question that I would like you to answer this committee or to discuss on it.
Yes.
According to the position that you are vying or nominate the nomination you are, what you state and you discuss briefly.
Yes.
The duties and the responsibilities of the county attorney. At least 10, you state at least 8.
Very well, Honorable Keruka. I will try to confine myself within the law because I believe the answers to your question. Thank you. Through the chair, the duties and responsibilities of this person called the county attorney is fairly new in Kenya through the enactment of an act of parliament called number 14 of 2020. The citation is the Office of the County Attorney Act. That is the one that came up with this position. Okay, previously different counties were working with various people. They were calling the county attorney with disjointed duties, but now this act of 2020 put all those things together. Now, the answer to that question will be found in section 7 and section 8 of the County Attorney Act of 2020. And one of the responsibilities, number 1, is to be the principal advisor to the county government. That act also allows the county attorney to liaise with the Office of the Attorney General when need arises. Now, this position also looks at county legislation. It takes care of county legislation in terms of the acts made either from the side of the executive or otherwise. The county attorney also has the mandate to represent the county in court. The county attorney has the mandate and responsibility to advise all the departments of the county. The county attorney has various other responsibilities stipulated in those two sections, and which include amending the laws as necessary. The county attorney can represent the county in any matter of public interest where the county attorney thinks the county needs representation, and various other. Those are some of the highlights that I can give, but generally the general answer is that they are contained in sections 8 and 7 of the said act.
Okay. Before you continue the questions, we have new members, honorable members who are friends of this committee. Maybe they can introduce themselves. Honorable Gadongo Kamau, who I think he is from your area, has an interest in this committee and would like to introduce himself.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Gadongo Kamau, MCA for Ishaupondo Ward, and I'm in this committee as an amicus curiae, a friend of the committee. As a matter of interest, I'm known to Gatore for many years. He comes from my area, and actually we share something in common. We were in the Starehe Boys Center of Nyandarua, that is Rishau Boys, together. He was ahead of me, and actually, as he has said, because I have heard Honorable Mbogomburu ask what he has been doing to the community, I want to promise for more than 10 years, we have been educating.
Maybe you are going out of order, Honorable Gathongo. You are not there to defend the nominee. You are to introduce yourself. Then you can hand over the mic to Honorable Mohende. Thank
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Mohende Karaoke, specially elected member from Magumu, friend of the committee.
Thank you. We have another member who was not present during the presentation, the introduction. She can introduce herself.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'm Honorable Maureen Mugaki, special elected from Geta. I think this is the first time to see you. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
we have another member, honorable member from the Githioro ward who has just entered. He can introduce himself and then we can continue with our questions.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Isaac Bai, Honorable Isaac Bai from Githioro ward.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Kirukamburu, are you through with your questions?
Okay, thank you. I think through the chairman, Mr. Gatore has answered the question I asked him fellow, but I have one question. I would like you to tell this committee whether were you vying for the position of Honorable Speaker in Nyandarua County?
Yes, I had an interest to become the Speaker of the County Assembly, Nyandarua County, but I was not able to go through to the end owing to factors beyond my control, but it was nothing incriminating or nothing that can worry this committee. It was just in the normal course of human interactions that things arose that made me not go to the ballot. But it was not, I want to clarify that it was not under any compulsion from any quarters.
Thank you. Those the chairman, I'm okay.
Thank you, Honorable Kirukamburu. We can continue with the questions. Honorable Rusekethenji, you can continue.
Mr. Gatori, I think you really know what you really wanting the county attorney. Can you kindly outline the structure of the office of the county attorney to this committee?
Yes, I will. Now, again, the structure of the office of the county attorney is a creation of Act number 14 of 2020, the Office of the County Attorney Act. Now, at the top of that office is the county attorney. Now, the county attorney is deputized by a legal creation called the solicitor. Now, below the solicitor is another legal creation, the legal counsel. What is not contained in the act is other staff that now also operate within the department as enablers.
Thank you.
Adding on that, don't we have a deputy county attorney?
The deputy county attorney is also the one called solicitor.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we have one in office or you are not aware?
I am not aware since I'm not an insider within the county government of Nyandarua.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. But I'm aware there was a county attorney who went into politics, but that's all I know.
We can continue with the other questions. Honorable Nyandarua Kingoni from North Kinago.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Gatore, I want to invite you back to the question that I asked you in relation to the Nyandarua County Task Force. Was that task force legally constituted?
I believe so. There was a gazette notice to that effect, and that was good enough.
So it was legally constituted?
Yes, there was a gazette notice to that effect.
So
I do not remember the date, but if I do in course of the interaction, I'll give it out.
So the issue is about that there was a gazette notice in relation to that?
Yes.
So the task force didn't require any approval from the county assembly?
Now, the appointing authority, I was not privy to the appointment of the task force, but having seen the task force in motion, there was a presumption that the convener and the appointing authority had gone through all the motions, which would have included the chairing of that in the county assembly. But since I was not privy, I can only presume that that was done, especially after I saw the Gazette notice.
Mr. Gatore, you are seeking a position that will directly be the principal legal advisor to the county government.
Yes.
And squarely, you are a member of that task force. So, what was the process for the task force to be in place?
Now, the process, now, away from what may have been done, the
according
process,
to what you know. Because if you know, you know. If you don't know, you say that I don't know.
thank you. Yeah, and that is,
Probably these are running process, and that's why you're coming from the corporate world, now you're coming to the government structure, and in a way that you be able now to be conversant with the law
yes,
that governs the government,
yeah,
especially the county governance.
yes,
True?
true.
So the task force was not legally constituted. Be aware of that.
Yeah, thank you for informing me.
It was not legally constituted.
Yes.
Now, the other question is between, you just
Maybe
happened to
on
the
that you could have elaborated for him, or you could have explained to him why it was not legally
It
constituted.
was not legally constituted because the governor, once nominated the members from the task force, ought to have brought the names to the assembly for approval. Okay? Then Gazette.
Thank you. That's why I was saying when I saw the gazettement, I presumed all the other steps had been followed because since I'm not his legal advisor, I was not consulted on that process.
Probably if you be approved by this honorable panel to the House, that will be the first job to do. Okay? Probably.
Yes, as county attorney, once if this committee approves my nomination, and now before my name goes the title of county attorney, now that would be like a steel structure whereby now all the responsibility falls on me to give all the good advice.
Maybe just a rejoinder is you just differentiate between the powers and the functions. The powers and the functions of the county attorney.
Yes, there are the functions which are the to do things that the county attorney has to run with, and then the powers. The powers will include, or rather, let me say, the functions are the work itself. The work itself. And then the functions, the powers now are kind of the rights that this county attorney has, one of which includes the power to get into any proceedings in which the county is involved, as long as they are not criminal proceedings. And those are some of the powers. The county attorney is also co-opted into the county committee of executive as a member who is ex officio. Such that whenever there is a meeting of the committee, this person, much as he is not a minister, has that right to sit in that committee. The functions include the other things that I cited earlier, which I may want to refer you to, the ones that I cited earlier.
Probably, Mr. Chair, the nominee would be able now to be conversant with the County Attorney Act, and since he is a lawyer by profession, he'll be able now to be conversant with it. And I may not be able to dwell much on that.
Yes.
It's a matter of learning as the time goes by.
Yeah. Maybe we'll assume he is a good runner. He will be conversant with the, with the act of the county attorney. You have a question, Honorable Bai? Before you ask, we had a systematic way we were asking. Maybe we will come to you, Rita. We have Honorable Maureen, who will proceed with the next question.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Me, I will just ask a simple question. Mr. Gatore, what are your thoughts on possibilities in established of county codes for purpose of enforcing county bylaws and venue sharing.
Yes, I may repeat the question to you. She was asking, what are your thoughts on the possibility of establishing a county court for purposes of enforcing laws, county bylaws, and revenue sharing?
Okay, I get it. Now, a long time ago, there used to be the municipal courts that would try offenders. But since we have a functioning judiciary, the purpose of trying offenders should be left to the judiciary. Example, at the city of Nairobi, away from the Milimani Court and the Makadara, which try criminal, we have City Court 1, City Court 2, City Court 3, and they are convening a City Court 4, where all the offenders within the city are brought. Now, since a court of law is supposed to be presided over by trained legal personnel, and the bulk of those people is in the judiciary, my thinking would be that offenders of county bylaws would be best handled by a magistrate appointed by the judiciary, since we have a government with interworking relations whereby one arm of the government can assist the other one. Now, so that we don't get to a situation where, like in those former years, where you would have prosecutors who are not trained in law and who would most of the time bring more injustice than justice. Those would be my thoughts.
Thank you. Are you comfortable, member? Okay. We can proceed to Honorable Mbai, and you can ask your question. Please hand over the microphone.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Chair. The law provides that community must benefit from national resources, yeah?
Yes.
Allowed it. But it has not been the case of Nyandarua County resident with respect to the Sasimwa Dam in Kinangop. If approved by the County Assembly, what step will you put in place to ensure that the law is complied with regards to that issue?
Thank you, Honorable Mbai. Chair, Honorable Mbai has provoked a burning idea that has always been in me, and I'll put it here on the table.
Yes, you can continue.
During the campaigns, there was a time I attended a football match in Jabini that was sponsored by the current governor, and that was part of the things that he was doing. Now, somewhere within the heart of Nyandarua County at Jabini, I saw a big signpost, Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company. And in my thinking, I thought that was something most unfair to Nyandarua County, because as we know about Sasimwa Dam, it is one of the sources of water for Nairobi, the other one being Dakaini. Now, what I told the governor in passing is that should you ever become governor of Nyandarua, buy me a big padlock. I'll go there, I'll lock the water, and wait for Nairobi to start making noise, and then we can come to the table and talk. Okay, literally, I was not going to do that, but what I was saying is that Nairobi should not be benefiting from a resource that belongs to Nyandarua, whereas it is public information that water from Sasumua, water from Nyandarua goes to Nairobi, other water goes to Nakuru, goes to Baringo, and since the coming of the devolution, it is that each county should benefit from the resources it has. If you followed the former governor of Turkana, Honorable Joseph Nanok, things had been negotiated in such a manner that Nanok was always saying that should you start mining this petroleum, we want 5% of the resources to be distributed among our people. So my thinking was, if this resource that we have is managed well and commercially, a big chunk of the revenue of Nyandarua can come from that water, and you never know, it can go to the extent of sending a Christmas gift to each family. This is from your water. Where the sharing of resources is such that the residents of Nyandarua benefit from that. Now, my thinking would be for Nairobi to take this matter seriously. It would be a good thing that Nyandarua forms a synergy. It is allowed in the law. Sometimes counties can come together to do something in common, whereby Nyandarua and Murang'a can come together and tackle the Nairobi government. You have been using our resources, you sell water to your residents, but you get this water for free. Can you now also start paying for the water? Can we have a revenue sharing formula whereby the residents of the source of this water can also get something from their resources? That would be my thinking, and it is an idea that has been in me, and I thank Honorable Mbaye for coming up with that.
Thank you for answering that question. I think it is a matter of time, or maybe when approved by this committee or otherwise, you make a follow-up on the same.
Yes, Chair.
We have questions from the Vice Chair, and then we go to Honorable Mbogo from Wero Ward. Vice Chair, Naomi.
Thank you, my chair. Mine is a very brief question. Have you ever applied for county attorney in another county? Have you ever applied for the same post in another county?
I think not, but if I remember right, many years ago, I don't remember when it was, but there was a time when there was an advertisement in Nakuru. By then, that was before the enactment of the current act that we are following, Act 14 of 2020. That may have been 6 or so years ago. Following the advertisement, I applied. I was called for an interview. I was number 1. But later on, I was told that the politics of the county took place, and they decided to have one of their own. You see, they're in Nakuru, I'm in Nyandarua. So that's the information that I got. But the bit that I knew is that I was number 1. That was 6 or so years ago.
So you had headed another county.
Yes.
Is it not a question to fear of from, or is it not you have answered in a manner that it indicates that you are from Nyandarua, you had done long to apply in another county?
No, I think it was not wrong as such, because as I had said earlier, this work of county attorney entails doing legal work, and that by serving Nakuru, that would have been a service to the country. And I don't know, for lack of a better example, a legal person is like a driver. You traverse all terrains. You will run from Mombasa to Kisumu, but at the end of the day, now that we have the Office of the County Attorney Act in place, and now that we have a vibrant county government, with this act that we now have, today if they advertise, I wouldn't apply because I have an opportunity to do it here. Why I was doing it that time is because in Nyandarua there were no structures and there was no opportunity to serve as such. Because I believe even the previous county attorney who left had not joined Nyandarua County then. So it was one of those things that were being done differently from how things are being done today.
Oh, thank you.
You also forgot to mention it in your CV, so it's you have not mentioned it anywhere. The committee is worried that you omitted that. Was it on purpose, or why did you omit? We had to go and search through your records, and in 2016, I think you were still in undertaking law, right?
Yes.
yeah, you omitted that, and so I don't know why. What is the reason?
I'll answer that. Now, as a standard practice, as a standard HR practice, the construction of a CV entails putting down what you have already done, the jobs that you have held. So for that one, that was just an application. It was not a job that I got. It was just an application, and if a CV was to be filled with all the applications that one has done, then it would run into tens and tens of pages. So as a normal and standard HR practice, you do not include in your CV the places where you have applied for jobs or where you have held interviews. So I want to assure the chair that having applied in Nakuru is nothing at all for the committee to be worried about, because it was a simple application.
We can continue the other member, Honorable Bogomboro.
Very well. What is your opinion on the format of the current and previous Nyandarua County Finance Law? Are you conversant of the same?
Very well, I'll say this, that I have not gone specifically into it, but interestingly, I found myself discussing that with a colleague, and what came out is that the format used was not the correct one. But now my thinking is what applies here on the ground in terms of the format should be a copy or a replica of what happens at the national level, so that now we have them moving in tandem. That would be my thinking.
So having discussed it with a friend means that you are already aware that the way it is formulated is wrong.
Yes, because information gotten from a professional colleague is as good as information that you have read directly, assuming the colleague is correct.
If you are lucky and gets the job, what will you do on the same?
First and foremost, as the legal advisor, it would be to look at the anomaly. Having looked at the anomaly and decided that it is not good for the county, we would now move and rectify so that it becomes beneficial to the county.
Very well. Litigations, or rather the charges we pay as a county when we lose cases, when we don't appear in courts, has been one of the areas that county
Yes, it is. I can try again.
is when we lose in case court, when we don't appear, when litigation is expected to be paid and then we don't appear. Now my question is, what will you do if you sail through to make sure that we don't lose this huge amount of money in litigation? The charges that come after we lose case courts.
Yes, I thank you for that question, which I hold very dear to myself. Number one, for me as an advocate, I'm not in the habit of losing cases, and it is a concern when a case is lost, because most of the time cases will be lost because of lack of proper preparation. Now, for a legal counsel to work with me as his attorney, okay, I'll be able to assess the capabilities of my people, and I am this kind of manager who is participative. I do participative, I'm hands-on. So I'll not just look at the diary, see there is a certain litigation and assign somebody. I will go to the extent of looking at that file myself, and the moment as an advocate you have gone through a file, you can already assess your chances of sailing through in that. I will not leave it at that point. I will have a discussion with the counsel that I'm assigning that file and say, this is how I see this. I can see what we have said and what our adversary have said, and I'll be surprised if we lose this case. So later on, if I'm told that we lost it, although I'll not be the type again that will sit in the office and wait to lose cases, I monitor. There are some things that we do such that when your counsel is coming from court, you put him to account. Let me see what you did today, what happened in court, so that if you see the matter is taking a direction that is pointing at loss, now that is the point at which to correct what is going wrong, instead of waiting to cry that we have lost the case. Number two, for a counsel not to appear in court, to me that will be indiscipline of the highest order. If you as Advocate Mbogo has been assigned a file from my office, you have not appeared in court, the first thing I'll do is to drop you and then listen to the explanation later. Because the moment you don't appear in court, it means we are headed for failure in that matter. So for me, the way I do my things, if we lose genuinely. If we lose, we shall lose genuinely, and it will not be a situation where the loss was orchestrated. Otherwise, I would take it very seriously if I have a counsel assigned a matter and he does not appear in court. That's unheard of. Although I know sometimes it happens, but for me, that's one of the few things that I categorize as unacceptable.
Very well. You have answered it very well, and I'll elaborate a little far away from the structured questions. I'll bring you to speed on the same issue. For instance, we have a lot of RAD grabbing, although I will be asking what you'll do on public RAD. Anywhere a nursery school is grabbed by a church or a given entity or personal, they continue with all the case practices. Remember, public will not come in on themselves. And I will be taking you to a nursery school in Ojorok, where I represent. Anywhere a church comes in, they continue, they go and get the title deeds from whatever quotas they got, and eventually it is a deprecated title deed because the nursery school was the one that was previously allocated. The others go and get the legal document, I don't know, from whatever quota they get. The nursery school does not follow on the case, and eventually they lose. How will you handle such a case?
Yes, there is a legal principle that says that equity, now equity is also law. So they say that the law does not assist the indolent. Indolent means Honorable Kingori has a problem, he does nothing about it, and when things have run south, now he comes crying. Now, if the owner of that land sees anyone encroaching, number one, it should have been their duty to raise the alarm at that point. Now, be that as it may, things have happened and we have a nursery schools that has lost land. We would operate like a person driving on the road and you find the driver ahead of you, reckless as he was, has crashed. So you stop and assist. So now for me, now coming closer home, as county attorney, if reliable information comes from the honorable member now like you, that for sure this land has been grabbed, that is information that I would take seriously and would leave no stone unturned, and that would include going to the very first allocation that was done, even if it means going to the records since independence, to see who is the rightful owner of this land. How did that land devolve up to the guy who today now is claiming to be the owner? Though that would also require some legal advisory to our people, that there are some land laws that need to be followed. If you own land and you let a stranger continue using that land for 12 years, we have laws that allow a stranger who has occupied your land without your intervention to own part of that land. So basically what I'm saying is that I take it personally when a person tries to swindle another. And if it was about taking sides, it will be trying to help and establish the truth and give an equitable solution to the problem.
Very well, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Bogomburu, for taking us through those questions. We have the friends of the committee. Do you have questions for Honorable Mohinde?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Begin by congratulating Mr. Gatore on his proposed appointment. I have a few questions with the indulgence of the chairman. Number one is, what are your thoughts on the establishment of the Public Defendant's Office as a unit within the County Attorney's Office? Number two,
maybe you can let him to answer question by question. You can answer that.
Yes, Chair. Through the chair, I'll say that an office established for the public good is a good office as long as it is not in conflict with another office, as long as it is an office that helps in service delivery, and especially for people who do not have access to avenues to a good life. For me, that would be a plus and a project to be supported.
Thank you, Chair. How will you juggle your private practice and the County Attorney's Office?
Thank you. I will not do that. I will not find myself in a situation where I juggle between a private practice and the County Attorney Office. Why? Because it is a requirement that when you are County Attorney, then you do not do private practice. So now that burden would fall upon the people that I work with, because now they would be the ones to run the private practice.
Through the chair, so you will completely delineate yourself from your practice, from your private practice.
Yeah, it is a requirement, and also practically, you may not be able to run. That would be too much to bite. That would be too much.
Finally, Chair, I would seek to refer Mr. Gatore to provisions of Article 187 1A on intergovernmental relations and the transfer of functions. Would you, in your position as the county attorney, come up with laws or bills that would enable the county government to undertake certain functions of the national government but which could be properly dealt with at county level? For example, we have an issue with the provision of birth certificates. It's still domiciled at county headquarters. Sometimes you have to go to Nyahururu. But each and every ward has a ward administrator with an office, an MCA with an office. Do you think of coming up with legislation to seek for the transfer of that function from the national government to the county government through the provisions of Article 187?
Thank you, Honorable Muhendi. And I like your question very much. You have put it so well, the way I would otherwise put it myself, such that my answer to that one will simply be a yes. I like the way you have framed it.
Oh, thank you, Honorable Muhinde. Honorable Gathongo has no questions. He has indicated as such.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have any questions, but you did cut me off when I was giving this committee a brief history of Gatore, whom I know back from the village, and actually what I wanted to say.
Maybe for this session, you are completely out of order. It is for another day. For this session, I will cut you off. We concentrate on the questions. Then later, because he will retreat on the report writing, and we have to give the report on the house, you can contribute on the same in the house plenary.
Approved, Chair.
Thank you. Do we have any other member who has another question? Honorable Mbaye, you can raise your question as we wind up.
Thank you, Mr. Gatore. You said that when Mr. Honorable Edinard, you said that you are not aware when you are not aware when the governor appointed the task force. Yeah. How do you say that you are not part of his advice? You didn't advise him because that time you are not part of serving. Now, if it happened that the task force was illegal, and now you are now becoming, maybe we might consider you to become a county attorney, will you consider revisit that and give the light if that was done illegally? Because if it was done illegally, then the taxpayer money lost. Now, how will you advise him, or will you revisit that that issue?
Okay, thank you for that question. I'll answer it broadly, and with reference to Article 159 of the Constitution. I'll also borrow from my experience in management, where you find that, fine, the task force sat, did what they did, and came up with information that may be good for the county. For example, if the task force is saying, we have seen somebody who is embezzling funds, so the natural reaction would be to stop that. Where somebody has stolen a vehicle from the county, the good thing would be to do a recovery. Where staff have not been treated well, but the task force is saying, hey, treat these people in a better way, the staff would be surprised if they had, here is a county attorney who is saying that ilikuwa imesemekana tupewe vitu mzuri, but now he's saying tusipewe. Now, we have a cure in the Constitution for that, where courts and tribunals, and by extension a committee like this one, are told that where there is a good thing that needs to be done, but the only obstacle is a procedural technicality, that sometimes you look at that procedural technicality and see what can be done about it. And now, from my management experience, I would say, when you find somebody who has not been promoted for 12 years, but has heard that someone is asking a question for him, when will this guy be promoted? And then he hears there is another one who is saying, because we did not do 1, 2, 3, 4, wait for another 3 years. So my thinking would be to get a middle ground between these three things. Number one, we ought to have gone through our assembly, and that was my presumption when I saw the gazettement. Now, if that was not done, the question would be thrown to the assembly itself. Now, assembly, this was not done, but on the other side, we are trying to balance this with staff welfare, protection of county revenue, and all that. What should we do? I'm sure between the executive and the assembly, an answer would come up which would bring a win-win situation where the assembly feels respected and where the staff and the county resources are also taken care of. That would be my short way of answering that.
I think you are very good in answering question. Now,
thank you. I take that as a compliment.
Last one.
Yes, you can.
Maybe I should.
You can let the Honorable Edinard to interject on that.
Okay.
To contribute further.
Yeah, you know, you cited Article 159, which we really not know what says. I would first tell us what the article tell us, or all about.
Yeah, I actually mentioned and said the relevant part that we look at is it says that that
confine of the law. That the task force was formed, they did their work, which is quite okay, but outside the law. Okay? And now you are the legal advisor to the government. You want to affirm that what you did is okay, and we proceed on.
Those were not my words. What I said was that, fine, the task force may have been done without following the law itself. That's why I was saying, number one, it would be upon the executive to reach out to the assembly so that the anomaly that occurred can be evened out for the good of the county. And that does not mean that we work outside the law, because in the first place, the law is paramount and must be respected at all times. But that what we are doing, what we are saying, is that we balance between the good of the county and the processes that have been used to get to where we are. So by all means, through the chair, I am not saying that we do not follow the law. Actually, part of our oath of practice is that we uphold the law at all times. And a part of that law that we are upholding is the supreme law of the country, which is the Constitution, and which provides that should there be a problem that can be addressed by not dwelling too much on procedural technicalities, that is allowed, and that is the law.
Yes, have you finalized on your part?
Yes, I have.
Yes, Honorable Mbaya,
Thank you. Lastly,
continue.
you said that you cannot be able to practice you will not be able to practice your private work, and now this one, you have to let one go. That's what you said?
No, what I said is that I have to let the private practice go. Not one of the two. I specifically said the private practice.
Or the private practice?
Yes, sir.
So now you'll not be working again in your private farm?
Yes, and I said that the burden of the private farm will now go to the people that I work with, because I don't work alone.
Yeah, my worry was I was worried that if you decided to close that farm,
yes,
no, where will you take other staffs? But I'm okay that you left them work with.
Yeah, and also there is also a provision in the law where LSK makes arrangements that if, for example, an advocate dies, an advocate relocates, or something happens and he's not able to practice, who takes over his work? That is already on the records of the regulator. But in my case, we are organized in such a manner that if there was to be a gap or the absence of one person, the other people now would be the ones to continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm okay now.
Okay, okay, Honorable Mbaye. We thank you. I think we don't have further questions. We thank you for your presentation. We will hand over your documents, and we will retreat further for report writing. You leave the other matters to the committee and to the whole house to decide on the next step to take. And we will also correct the number 14, and you countersign.
Yes, Chair.
Yeah. You countersign on the same. Maybe it was an error when you are filling the space. Then you can give us your closing remarks.
Very well, Chair. I'll start by correcting number 14. I think that was occasioned by the positioning of that question where, with my glasses, I was not able to see well, but I'll do the correction. Now, on the side of the closing remarks, number one, I want to thank each and every member of this committee on your nominations, on your election. I know that getting elected to the positions that you have been elected is not a simple matter. Also, getting nominated is not a simple matter. So you hold a position that many people do not reach. So I want to give you, and I want to take this opportunity to give you my heartfelt congratulations on election and nomination. Number two, if the committee finds it right, if the committee finds me right to be the person to take up that position of county attorney, I know we have not had a long time of interaction, but I tell you that you will have done a good service to your county, Nyandarua, because you will have rewarded your county with a person who is able, a person who can make things happen, a person who works in a manner that results are achieved, and the county will live to remember you as the people who gave them the person who moved them from a low point to a high point. That I can assure you. Because from the way I work even in my private practice and in my other engagements, I have not had a situation where I was rated as a poor performer. I have always been rated as a high performer. And in terms of cases now coming closer home, I have not had a situation where my clients were disappointed with the work that I do. So by extension, you will have given the county of Nyandarua a good person to work for them. And for that, I'll give you my guarantee.
Okay, thank you for your remarks. Now we are done. The session is over. We have adjourned. It is over now. We can have one member to escort you. Honorable Rusi, you can escort our nominee. Yes, nominee, members, can you sit down kindly for the nominee to confirm his documents are in order? Yes. Are you consented with your documents? Okay. Thank you, thank you. Okay. You can leave at your own pressure. We serve tea at the restaurant. Maybe you can have a cup of tea there. You are allowed.
Thank you.